Everyone ready for the eclipse? Here we go. All right, birthdays. Stacy White. Shirley Werthel. Jim Belay. Octavia Lewis. And then Brandy from The Office. The total accidents this year. So we had 4 preventable backing accidents. And then we just had 1 or 2 this year that we scraped the side of another vehicle. And we've had 1 non-preventable accident. 1 car scraped the bus. And I know we talk about this all the time, but preventable is really, really hard for me because we say it over and over and over. Don't back up the bus without a spotter, right? There is no reason for it. And then scraping something, we go over mirrors all the time. So if you scrape another vehicle, you're not watching in your mirrors. We have a mirror station. You guys need to use it. If you feel like your mirrors aren't adjusted correctly, we go over this beginning of the year. We send Matt out there to help you if you need help adjusting your mirrors. So it's frustrating. Todd, do you want to say anything about that? I know he does.
Bring good news and bad news when they come here. Okay, a couple things. So I agree with Mary about the preventable accidents. Things get bad when the insurance company calls me and tells me that we do have some concerns with accidents in the district. And something that comes to mind is hitting the overhead door. That's $2,000 that costs the district. And missing a trash can to hit a parked car is another $2,000 to the district. All these add up one way or another for costs, claims, time to process, repairs that have to be made. So I want to remind you again that pay attention to your safety meetings, follow our protocols, and if we continue to have issues, I have to rethink our safety program, our training, and what we do when issues like this occur. So I deal with these all throughout the district. Last month, somebody sideswiped our driver's ed van, and I had to replace the whole side of it. I know accidents do happen, but preventable ones, and when the insurance company calls me, that means our premium's going up, which means it costs the district more money in addition to our deductible. So please be careful out there. Please think about what you're doing, and please think about what you've been trained to do. I guess when I'm up there, I'll cover the rest of that because at some point I have to return back to the office. For those of you that didn't hear, Mary's retiring at the end of May. You see a lot of sad faces where I going, yes. I was here when we promoted Mary, so this is not going to be a new process for me, even though it'll be a little difficult one. We've had a great working relationship over the years. I will be including a mechanic, office staff, and at least 1 driver or 2 on the initial reviews of applicants. So if you'd like to be on that, I'll probably have maybe 50 emails when I get back to my office, I don't know. I will be selecting at least a driver of 2 to be part of that process. It's only fair and appropriate. That'll probably at least be for the first round where we just meet the applicants and kind of decide which one we think is best for our future. Okay, so if you'd like to be part of that, you certainly can. If you have an internal process of how you work, either through your working agreement, representatives or whatnot, let me know. But you definitely will have a voice at the table as we go through the process. Ultimately, it is the superintendent's decision. So that's who will make the final call when we get to the end. So I'm just going to point out right now, if anything bad happens that you don't like, it's Andy's fault. And I'll tell him that when I see him here at 10 o'clock. Other than that, we're going to have some information today about the status of our fleet and our busing, some of our plans with the future fueling alternative, and where we're at with the expansion of the parking lot, which is not where we want it to be, but not everybody works for me in this district, so I can only do so much with what I have. But I think we'll cover those today. Okay, so you'll get to hear it directly from either Matt or Mary. Other than that, thank you for being bus drivers. Now we're getting close to the end of the year, and things get a little more chaotic. Kids get a little anxious, as do people. And with the weather changing and being nicer out, we'll have more people on the road, likely not paying attention as we try to drive. I came to the office and said it must be an eclipse day. I see more people drive incorrectly on my way to work, or pull out in front of me, or not use a turn signal, or cut somebody off, or tailgate somebody. And I know it's a very difficult job, so I thank you again for doing that. And anything else you want me to cover while I have the podium, or just go back to my computer?
Do you guys have any questions for us? Yeah. The process, anything?
3 rounds. Your representatives at this level will be at the first rounds. We go through them, decide who will continue. So you'll have questions that we'll be asking of the group as well. Mary and I will probably formulate those questions. Certainly, if you have any good questions you'd like to ask, you can certainly send those in to Mary, because I like to be inclusive of the process. How it typically works is we'll probably have 20 questions for the first round. We'll take turns going through whoever represents each of the questions most appropriately. So if there's one about money, I'll take the money one. If there's one about good driving standards, that'll probably be one of you. And then after we get that done, we'll have a conversation about who we think is best for the future and meets the qualifications of being a director. And that application process is still open. And then it goes to the second round, where it's probably more of just the administrative level, which I got to bring in the HR guy at some point. And Mary will be there probably through the first and second round. And the third one is usually myself and the superintendent. And then I give him my recommendation, and then he signs off on whatever he thinks we should do. And that's the process. It'll go fairly quickly. We'll probably know by the end of April, and we'll start to look at a transition plan as well for the transportation department, and then move forward. So I pulled up my 2014 document, I think was it 14 or, yeah, right around there, 2014. Mary went through the same process back then. So it's been a decade that she's, been the director. We'll follow a similar process. How many of you remember Bob? Okay. We call him the Bob Knight of transportation. That's what we call him. That's
Bob Knight. You guys
Bobby
know who
Knight?
that is? Bobby Knight?
He had a different style than Mary, right? Mary's like the nice parent you'd go to and have a conversation. Bob was like me, right? The enforcer at my house. I got to be the bad guy. So we went through the process before, and it's good that we've been able to retain a director as long as we have it, Mary. And then we will have a retirement party for her. We'll likely have 2. We'll have one here, kind of as you come back in from your route. So if you want to have a little meet and greet and say your goodbyes, you can, because we know you have other obligations sometimes in the evenings. And then we'll have another one that will carry over into another location that's not in the transportation center. That Mary will have kind of a list that everyone will come to, and we'll get that information out as it becomes available. I don't want you to think like we're just going to have like another one of these potlucks here. We're going to have a little more informal and a formal one where we recognize her as well. So that's our process, recognize her years of service. And then I will no longer be her boss, and somebody else will be. Maybe her cat, cat. Dog. If you're in my house, the dog. If you go out the dog, house boss. Get up when the dog wants to go out. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, any other questions? Then I'm good. I'll go back to my computer and then central office. It's negotiation week, and the board meeting tonight, so it's a long day. I'll get home about 9:30. So and my day started at 4. So. All right. Thank you very much.
All right, you guys heard him. I'm the nice one, right? All right, the eclipse today. I knew we needed to touch on this because I've heard a few rumblings of what are we going to do, because this is during routes. This is not going to be pitch black outside, right? It's going to be like cloudy for you guys. Obviously, follow those rules. Do not look at the sun. We have drivers concerned that their students will look at the sun. The teacher is going to go over that, and I would suggest you remind them when they get on the bus, do not look at the sun. If a parent is concerned, they'll go pick their kid up. So you may have light loads, especially on our special needs routes. because it's a little harder, obviously, to explain it to them. Any questions on that? Yeah.
Are regular sunglasses protective or no?
No.
If you don't look at the sun, yeah. If you're looking directly at the sun, then no.
They have little glasses they're gonna give the kids?
No.
No.
No, they are not participating in that. Any other questions?
I have a question, Mary.
Yeah.
Will there be a delay, like bringing them out? I know special ed kids at Western come out around like 2:07, 2:10, within.
There's no plan to
Okay.
adjust, no. Again, it's pretty much they've let parents know if you're uncomfortable, you know, that they can pick their student up. And then, you know, teachers will remind and bus drivers will remind.
Well, once you tell them not to do something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, then, yeah. Don't look at the sun.
That's when you gotta know your child, right?
Why?
I have one I might have to pick up. Had this happen when she was younger. Any other questions? All right. So I have a picture here. Yeah. So this is from 320 New Orleans. Bus driver evacuates 9 students before bus is engulfed in flames. And that is her. I know I touch on a lot, excuse me, about accidents and what is going on, you know, throughout the United States. And I thought this would be a good one to bring up as well. You know, the good things that happen out there and how somebody reacted and reacted appropriately and saved those kids. Kudos to her.
Did the engine catch fire?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How did that happen?
They have not said yet. They're still investigating. But this is obviously, you know, where it comes in handy when we say, you know, bus evacuations. Everybody should be participating so that it's just like this. You don't hesitate, you know what you're supposed to be doing and what you should be saying to the students. You know, the fire's in the front of the bus, so you're going to evacuate out the back. That's why we go over and over and over and over with the students as well, so that they know what to expect. And the second one here, Miss Debbie, I couldn't find a picture of her. School bus driver saves young girl from reckless driver passing on the door side. You can see the car up there. She at the last minute saw the car and grabbed her backpack. See, I'm sure the girl's white. All right. There were some others, not as fortunate. 326 in Texas, 2 students were killed, one on the bus, and the man, sorry, 2 students, one student on the bus, and a man following behind the school bus that rear-ended the bus.
Is that the one with the concrete truck?
The concrete truck, he did not pass the drug test. Yeah. The employer also did not do a background check. Yeah, very sad situation there. Also on March 26th in Massachusetts, after pulling over due to unruly students, bus gets stuck in the mud and sinks. I mean, it's literally sinking in the mud. They had to call the fire department to evacuate 20 students out of the bus. Be careful where you're pulling over. Kids get wild. And then April 1st, also Massachusetts, 3 adults injured. There's an accident at an intersection which flipped the bus onto its side. Luckily, only the driver and the monitor were on the bus. There were no students on the bus, and they were okay. Seemed to be happening. I don't know if it's just the time of year. If you guys are seeing the same thing, it's like a lot of accidents going on out there. And not even necessarily saying the driver's fault, the school bus driver. So, unfortunately, I think, there are a lot of inexperienced drivers on the road. And so we can never, take our eyes off the road or what's going on around us. Because you just don't know anymore what's going to happen. So kudos to you guys. I know we get frustrated over preventable accidents, but you guys do a great job day in and day out. All right, important dates. May is out. If you haven't seen it, if you need a copy, let us know in the office. Wednesday, April 10th, Geneva High School only is having early dismissal for testing, and 2 different times, so Matt's gonna go over that. And then April 19th, all Geneva schools dismiss early, but the high school has testing again. And so they have a different release time, which again, Matt will go over. Friday, April 12th, and Friday, April 26th, we do have Jive in Geneva. And then Friday, April 26th is the Geneva Citywide Garage Sales. Which means what? Mill Creek is coming. Our favorite time of year. We'll go over the testing and then the reminders.
On Wednesday, they have testing at the high school, and this is a new type of testing that is mandated, so they're not 100% sure how long this is going to take yet. So if you haven't seen the email yet, please check your email. It's also posted on the board by the mailboxes and by the field trips. It is only for high school drivers, and it is going to be juniors and sophomores only. So they are going to be, sophomores are going to be released at 11:30. Juniors are going to be released at 12:30. So your loads on Wednesday are going to be very light. Dave?
Are we doing the sophomores at that?
No. So everybody's coming in for the 11:30 release for the sophomores, because they're predominantly going to be the ones that are going to be riding the bus. Juniors more than likely are going to be driving, as per what the high schools told us. So we have, I asked in the email, if you saw it, for 4 buses for 12:30, a north, south, east, and west bus. We still need a north driver and an east side driver. These are just to pick up any juniors that end up not taking the bus and taking them home. Could end up with a few, could end up with nothing. But we need 2 more for that. And then at 1:30, they are doing they want 2 buses, an east and a west bus, just for extended testing students, the students that qualify to test longer. They're expecting very little attendance on that. We still need a west side bus for that. If you don't have a high school route, we also have 3 high school routes that we need to cover at the 11:30 time for drivers that had other commitments during the middle of the day. So if you're available to do any of these, please let Kelly know so that we can get these covered as soon as possible. On the early dismissal day, they are going to let out at the same time they normally do. They are waiting until after Wednesday to give us what the extended time is going to be for testing, but they're looking to have at least a few buses come back probably around 12:30, 12:45-ish to pick up any stragglers. Any questions on that? reminder sheet.
So the 19th, we will have a meeting. No.
All right, so just a reminder that the startup dates have all been announced and sent out. If you guys need a copy of those, let Brandy know. She'll get you another list of it. But it's our startups of route reviews, refreshers, back to school meeting. If you expressed interest in a summer school route, you should have received an email for one or both groups, depending on your interest. Inviting you to an email group. Brandy just finished that up this morning, so everybody should have gotten one. If you haven't, let her know. I am waiting on, I'm supposed to get today the last of the summer school attendance for the private placements. So we're gonna begin routing for summer school this week. And by the end of the month, we should be beginning bidding. And know what we're looking for. Please remember, if you are the last one to get coffee, to turn off the coffee burner. Mary and I walk out here a lot and see almost nothing in the pot with the burner going. Oh, you have a picture? Like that. This is a picture of our actual coffee pot that Mary came out to with the burner on. There is nothing in that. You are just cooking that away. So if you're the last one to grab coffee, please turn the burner off. Or if it's that low, that it's that back end that nobody wants at the bottom of the pot, just turn it off, please.
Nobody wants to drink coffee. Yuck.
From the shop. So most of you probably know we've been doing field trips, but we are not doing them out of the garage anymore if you're at the middle school. We've kind of laxed up on it because the weather's been, for the most part, pretty nice. We've been letting people take their buses out of the middle school. If you're in doubt of any issues with your bus, please write it up. There's been a few calls to the office on what should I do while you're still here or at the middle school. We'll let Jeremy know, but we need a write-up for it, just so that we've got it documented. Field trip reminders. It's springtime, and as you guys saw, I was announcing emails and still announced another field trip this morning. Still working on covering one more for this week. Everybody needs to jump in and help out for field trips. There is 3 very full pages of field trips up there, and it's only going to get worse. When assigning buses to your guys' field trips, as you guys have seen, the buses are getting older, and they're breaking down a lot more frequently. We don't always know what bus we're going to be able to give you if it's not your own bus. So sometimes you're going to be assigned a bus, and it might randomly say van 1, or it might say 39, and you go out there and 39's not there. Probably not the worst idea to check in if it's not your bus to make sure that it is still available for the day. Does that make sense? If your field trip sheet says WC on it, that stands for wheelchair. Means you have wheelchair students and need a wheelchair bus. There were 2 incidents last week where the office is at fault for this as well, is it was not caught. When we put you guys on a trip, it auto assigns your assigned bus. It was not caught. and did not get switched to a wheelchair bus. But somebody looking at the sheet also should have questioned why they were on a big bus for a wheelchair route, just to make sure that there wasn't something else. The first incident, we were able to get it corrected and the student got to go on the trip. Unfortunately, the second day, that was not as fortunate and a kid got missed out on the trip. So please, we will do our best as well, but please make sure if we slip and your trip sheet says wheelchair and you're listed in, I don't know, bus 50, please question it. Any questions on that?
What's highlighted on the board too, it says wheelchair, so when you're signing in.
They
for it,
are.
you should
They,
know.
there is a color, and it's
Purple.
listed up there. Purple is sped. If you are signing up for anything that's got purple highlighting, there's a chance you're gonna need to be in a little bus. It's not always the case, but more often than not, you are in a little bus with a sped assigned field trip. To those kids, sometimes they request a big bus, because to those kids, that's like the greatest thing, because they don't ride on those very often. It all depends on what the equipment needs are of the student. Any other questions? No? All right, then we're gonna go over some what to do whens. So I don't have an actual slideshow for you this time. Oh, everybody just loves my slides so much, I'm sure. No, this is all stuff that we've either gone over this year or we've gone over previous years. But this is gonna be more of, I need you guys to interact. I'm gonna ask you guys, what do we do? And we're gonna go through them together. So, we're gonna start with storms, because we've been having a lot of rain lately. So, what do we do if we're driving down the road and we can't see because the rain's coming down so hard? You got the wipers going full blast. What are we doing? Slow down, pull over if we need to. Yep, strobe light absolutely should be on. Yeah, if you can't see where you're going, pull over. We don't want an accident to occur. The rain will subside eventually. We can let parents know the bus is delayed. With that, who saw what happened in Wilmington last week with all the rain?
Oh, yes, the bus was in the water.
Oh, yep. There was a flooded road.
Yeah.
A small bus, not a mini bus like we have. It was a half-size big bus with sped kids on it. Just because you're in a big bus does not mean you can make it through the water. This driver decided to make an attempt anyways. It was about thigh-high water, and that bus got lifted off the ground and drifted. And fire rescue had to go out and retrieve everybody from the bus. So, if you can't see the road and you don't know how deep it is, question it. And if you can, go a different direction. Just because you're in a big bus doesn't necessarily mean you can make it through.
What would you do if that was your bus and you're on there with kids and you're drifting? You can't get off the bus. So
No.
what would you do?
In that instance of this Wilmington one, there was an aide on the bus that could have guided that driver backwards so they could make a 3-point turn and go the other direction. And call into base, say,
You know, if you're stuck in the water.
Oh, if you're
what
stuck
would
in the
you do
water?
if you just call for help, that's all you can do.
you call it, that's all you can do. You can't get off the bus. You gotta wait for rescue to arrive. So if for some reason you end up in that, call it into base immediately. That you're stuck in water and you can't move. But that's why I say, question it. If you don't know how deep it is, it's not worth going through. What if you got large hail coming down?
Stop. pull over.
Stop and pull over. If it's big enough, no matter what you do, it's gonna do damage to it, but you don't wanna be driving down the road when it crashes into your windshield and shatters something.
Under a tree.
If you can, yep, get over to a building, under a tree, wherever you can, close to a building. What if the tornado sirens go off on you?
Just take it back to school.
Get back to school if you can, or get to the
Fire
nearest
department,
school,
police department.
police department, fire department. What if you're out of district?
You know, I've heard that with fire departments, they don't want you parking there because they're going in and out.
Oh, he pulled the truck right through for me. He pulled the fire truck out so I could pull right through
Oh, really? Thanks.
and sit in the building. They were super wonderful.
It might depend a little bit on the fire department,
Yeah.
but we've had to call one before for letting them know that we've got a vehicle coming.
Well,
Yeah.
he pulled his truck out. They pulled the trucks out so they could go.
That will ask the fire chief.
Yeah.
Good answer.
We'll talk to the local fire chief. We'll figure out what he would
As
advise.
the district say, when you're in district, get to a school building, one of our
Yes.
buildings. And that's why we asked for you guys to be able to plow in at any building. Because that did happen, the driver pulled up to Fabian and could not get in the building, right? Because they don't typically go to Fabian. And as far as like Donna did say, it depends on the fire department, they're usually willing to help, but their hands are full too at a time like that. So any, school would be understanding as well when you're out of district. But this is something you guys should be thinking about ahead of time, on your route. And what would make the most sense of where you're traveling back and forth.
Can we pull in here?
Yes, we've done that before.
Any district
Yeah.
building.
Yeah. We had that happen with the Fox Valley Career Center bus. When the sirens went off, she was coming down Kesslinger. We had her pull in with the kids and got everybody's bunker down. You wanna get to the nearest district building if you're in district.
So Matt,
Yeah.
you know, when I used to go back and forth to Genoa, I would look, Burlington, they have the fire department if I'm
Mhm.
there. But from Burlington to Genoa, you know, you can step on the gas and go, but what do you do there? 'Cause there's nothing, there's just a few farmhouses. You gotta hope you can get into, Genoa, you know, there's nothing out there.
No, do you remember what you're supposed to do if you're out in the middle of nowhere?
Yeah, and get a ditch.
Get out and get into the ditch and everybody bunker down as best you can. I mean, you're,
Not going
yeah, do not go under any bridges or viaduct, that becomes a wind tunnel.
Yeah.
But get yourself into a ditch or something, cause unfortunately, that's a worst case scenario. You're out in the middle of nowhere
Yeah,
and
there's
you've
no
got
ditches
nothing.
ditches out there.
You do the best you can, you get to a low spot. Alright. What if we get into, what if you're coming down one of your subdivision roads and there's cars parked on both sides? We're not gonna step on the gas. That's not the answer for when Todd's over
Lay on the horn.
here. Todd doesn't want a call that says we just took off 12 mirrors because we blasted through all the cars. If you guys drive these roads every single day, you guys know which roads are narrow roads that when two cars are parked on each, or cars parked on each side, that you're gonna have to question whether you can make it through or not. If you're ever in doubt, call us. We will come and back you up and get you out of there. And we will, if we have to, we've done it before, we'll see if there's any empty drivers that are nearby that can come and back you out of there. Don't risk it. What if a road's blocked completely?
Call it in.
Call it in. We say this, and I know it seems obvious, but somebody always tries to do it. Call it in. I've had to back drivers up long blocks before because the road's completely blocked. We'll get you through wherever we gotta get you through. There are questions?
Well, what happens if you're on a field trip or activity route or something, and no one's around?
Good question. So you're talking when the coach isn't with you anymore?
Oh, well, that's true, there is a teacher.
If you're on a field trip and you got the coach with you, have the coach help you back.
Not activity route.
I thought we weren't supposed to trust anybody that wasn't a driver.
I would be very careful about it, because we have had a parent help back a driver straight into a mailbox. Be very careful on that. My suggestion is to, if you are by yourself, nobody's in the, this is after hours or whatever, back up the bus, a few feet, stop, walk back, see how close you are. And just keep doing that. Yes, it's gonna be repetitive, it's gonna take you a lot longer, but at least you're gonna know how close you are, because you're actually going out and looking to see how much room you got. Accidents. What's the first thing you should do if you end up in an accident?
Check to see if the students are okay.
Check to make sure everybody's okay. And then call us. Because that's gonna be our first question. Anybody, is everybody okay? What if you can't reach us? Call 911. If for some reason you can't get a hold of us either, because our radios go pretty far now that we can hear most everybody, but there's still some dead spots where we can't hear you. Call 911, and when you're done with that, call us on your cell phone. Let us know what's going on.
Matt, would you mind if I elaborate a little bit?
Absolutely.
So we have, and I don't think you were here, when we had that accident that was on Vandal and Kessler, right? And I'm sure all of you heard the radio that day.
That was like a week ago or so, right?
Yeah, and it was nonstop, that radio was just going, and everyone's trying to help each other get around it and let each other know what's going on. That's a perfect, situation or thing to bring up, where that could happen. You can't get a hold of us because there is so much going on at the time. That would be a time, hey, you can't get through to us, call 911. We're gonna get the message, sooner or later, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like if you were in your own vehicle, what would you do? You just take it from there as if you were in your own vehicle. Any questions on that? Yes.
Do we have to call in to say rerouting and when it's a situation like that, because that takes up the radio, can we just skip that part and reroute?
Right, so when it is, we've announced it and said, don't even bother trying to come through here, just reroute. You do not have to call and tell us that you're rerouting, because we know that all of you are doing. And we couldn't possibly keep track of, Donna calls in and says, I'm going out 38 to Peck Road. And there's so many of you that we're trying to get to the middle school. There would be no way that we could possibly keep track of every bus and where they are.
Nancy?
On Channel 1, does the office have ability to hear Channel 1 at all, at any time?
We do.
Oh, you do? So,
Mm-hmm.
so if there is an emergency, could we switch to 1 and try to reach you guys?
Trying to think, do any of our radios actually actively have channel 1 on?
You have to press.
So we have a portable radio that we normally take out with us, and you bring up a good point, is we haven't had it on during the day, but we could have it on channel 1, so that if there was something like that, you could call it in over channel 1, if you're local. Channel 1 is our old radio line that you can still access, but does not have the distance that our new ones do.
Definitely worth a try.
Yeah. Any other questions on that?
Yeah.
All right. What about when the police arrive at the accident? Say it louder, Jackie.
Give them the sheet with the students' names.
Yep. Everybody should have a sheet with their students' names on it in the bus. Give that to them. And they're gonna ask you, if you know where those students are sitting, mark it off on the sheet. Or if you've got a seating chart for elementary, hand them the seating chart with it. They're gonna take control of the situation. You're gonna have to give them your driver's license, the insurance card, the registration for the bus. Should all be with you on there. What if somebody's parent arrives? Nope, they cannot take their student with them.
Only the police can dismiss them.
Police or administration are the only ones that can release them. Parents can show up, but we try to keep the parents away from it because that just blocks up all the traffic even more. When you get back to base after an accident, what do you do?
Write it up.
Fill out a UOR report. You're gonna need that and a copy of the police report card that the police give you. How do you know if you gotta evacuate the bus if you're in an accident?
Risk of fire or other hazard.
Fire or other hazard. What are the other hazards?
Fuel leak blocking.
Fuel leak,
Risk of getting hit in the road.
risk of getting hit because of a curve or a hill. There's two more. Train, for some reason you get stalled on a train track. The last one's a very unlikely one, but anybody remember what the last one is?
Never happened.
You end up in a body of water.
And we almost had that happen. It can happen.
When was that?
Suan's windshield was.
Oh, so when it got really icy out, Suann couldn't make it up the hill and rolled backwards. It can happen. You've got on the east side of town, you've got the real big hill heading down to 25. If it gets just as icy as it did that day, you could have a similar struggle. It's never happened. Knock on wood, it never happens. But everything's always a possibility.
May I have a question on the student list that you give the police officer?
Yeah,
You have to give that back, right? Or does he take it?
he takes it. We'll have to print you a new one.
Okay.
Just so you know, typically, in case Matt and I are not out there, we take a picture of it though.
Okay.
Because usually you guys are marking off whether the student was on the bus or not.
Right.
And we do wanna know that.
That's a good idea.
What if the child wants to get off at another stop?
Gotta have a note.
Gotta have a note.
They count for high school?
Not for high school,
Oh, really?
no. High school, they can get on, but if they become a problem, we write them up and they're not allowed to get on that bus again. Middle school, they have to have a note from the principal and can ride with whatever friend they want, as long as it's signed by the office. Yep, they have a stamp over there that they do. Amanda?
I had a situation where the child told me in the morning that they would be doing it on the same bus, just stopping at, getting off at a different stop. The parent did call the office, and the office said that they did not need a note. And so I took the kid all the way, and the parent met me at the stop to tell me that they had called and also emailed. And the office said that they didn't need it because it was the same bus, just a different stop.
They should still have a note. So especially because we do this for elementary, is they're only allowed, elementary's only allowed to ride, get off with people on the same bus as them. But the reason we say we need a note even for the same bus is because we have it down that they're getting off at one stop, and in your situation, a parent was there at the other stop. Well, what if they're not?
Mm-hmm.
And the kid's just telling you that their mom said they're allowed to get off at such and such stop. So you dropped them off somewhere, but now we get a phone call from mom saying, where's my kid?
Right.
This
But
way,
the mom was mad because I wouldn't let her off at the stop she wanted to get off on because the
Well.
office.
and sometimes they do think our note process is a little ridiculous and they want to be able to send their own sign note saying it. But we do it to cover our own bases.
Yeah.
So I get it might frustrate the parents because it's the same route, but
But check with the office because the office is the one that told her that that wasn't necessary.
do
So
you remember
it
which
was
office?
south.
South, okay.
And
We'll
you
let
can
them know.
always blame us,
Yep.
honestly.
Mary and I
And
are
that's
here
what
to
I
take the
did.
blame. We're the bad
I
guys.
said I'm sorry, but without a note I can't. It's against the policy.
Yep. Blame us. I'm used to it. I get the angry parent calls.
Can a student that rides your bus normally get off at a different stop, middle school?
If he's got a note.
What happens when they like jump off and are already heading down the sidewalk with their friends?
Write them up. I know that's not really what you want, anybody wants to do, it's extra paperwork, it seems a little frivolous because it's probably the same neighborhood, but again, if the parent doesn't know where they're at, then it becomes a problem of trying to track down the kid and why did they get off here? But if you write them up, we've got documentation that says Johnny jumped off the bus before I could stop him and,
It'll be that one time you let them go and something happens.
yeah.
May I?
Yeah.
I'm also kind of in the same vein, for elementary and middle school, am I correct? That once they get on the bus, they can't get off the bus unless the teacher or principal lets them off.
That is correct. They can't just hop off the bus again. They need to get off for some reason. Oh, I forgot my mom's picking me up today or whatever. Call it in and we'll get somebody to come over to your bus, or I hear you guys talk to each other and say, have a teacher come over here. They have to wait for a teacher or administrator to come get them off the bus. They can't just hop back off the bus. Any other questions on that? Alright. What if you guys have a fight on the bus?
Call it in.
Call it in immediately and pull over. Don't take bets. Or at least don't say it out loud, you're taking bets. In all seriousness, pull over and call it in immediately. Do you intervene with the fight? No. Don't intervene in the fight.
Verbally though, verbally.
You can try to verbally de-escalate the situation. Do not physically get yourself involved in the fight. I know that seems a little crazy because they're throwing, if you get a bad enough one like we did on, if you guys remember the one that Jim Rimkus had, where their girls are throwing fists at each other.
How about that kid that got out the window?
I would die to see that.
They figured out who it was.
Yeah, I mean,
Another kid ratted him out, but.
it's right out the window.
Figure out who it was.
But for those situations where they're in a fight, we have police on the way to come and handle that situation. Because we teach you guys kind of how to, a lower way of verbally de-escalating it, but you guys aren't trained to physically restrain anybody. And we don't want to put you guys in a bad position where you guys end up getting accused of something else just because you were trying to stop a fight. No, we're not macing anybody. I will tell you, there was a driver several years back, not once but twice I found mace on their bus.
Oh, no.
You cannot have mace as a protective for yourself on the bus. I don't know what bears you're running into in Geneva, Doug.
So how many fights have there been on our buses? Not many. We're very lucky.
3 total.
See, that's,
In Mary's 25 years, there's been 3. 2 of them were sped kids that go to a behavioral school that really just don't like each other. And 1 was 2 high school girls on Jim's bus. It's a very rare occurrence in our district. We're fortunate that way. But we want you guys to be prepared for anything.
it's not that we're
What if you have a student that has a seizure or an allergic reaction? Pull over and call it in. If they're having a seizure, what are you gonna do?
Protect them from hurting themselves.
Laying down on the seat, if possible.
You're gonna,
Keep
you're
them
gonna try
away from
and,
the window, their head.
yep. Lay them down if possible. They're not gonna fit on the floor. Maybe if they're a tiny thing, but you wanna keep their head tilted so that if they do vomit or something, it's going out, not staying in. And you wanna time it. When paramedics arrive, because the dispatch asks us when we call, but when paramedics arrive, they're gonna ask how long it's been going on for. That is to the best of your ability. Because sometimes you can't always tell right away that that's what they're going into. It all depends on the type of seizure that they have. If they have an allergic reaction, what are you gonna do?
Call 911 immediately.
Call 911. See if they got an EpiPen in their backpack or whatever. Obviously, we still need 911 to go there because that's only a temporary relief. Let's see. What if the time clocks go down? I know, it seems like a silly question, but right out of sheet. Right out of sheet. We still get people that come in and tell us the time clocks are down, can we clock you in? Please fill out a sheet.
Sometimes you can reboot them.
Sometimes you can. If you guys tell us, usually the first thing we do is we walk over there, we unplug it, wait about 10 seconds and plug it back in and see if it fixes it. Because honestly, that's the first thing technology is gonna tell us to do. Did you try rebooting it? If the Wi-Fi's out, either write it up if you're late clocking in, or you walk up here and clock in on the time clocks. When should you be clocking in to switch over for trips?
Whether you got a pre-trip or bus.
Depends. Well, for the first example, let's say you're in your bus already. You're doing your route, you finish your route. You need to switch over for your trip. When do you switch?
Either at the start of your field trip time or when you get to the school.
Yep. When you get to the school, or at the start of your field trip time, whichever's first. What about if you're at base?
Your time that it takes you at 17 minutes to get to the high school, and you have 12 minutes to get over to the middle school.
Exactly.
Anything past Randall Road is 17 minutes east.
Well, we give 20 to get, 22 to get to the west, Harrison.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That got changed a couple of years ago, but it's all in your guys' agreement paperwork, and it's got the laid out breakdown. But it depends on your travel time. That doesn't mean walk out to your bus and call Brandy on the radio and say, hey, can you switch me over if you're here at base? You should be switching yourself over if you're already here.
What about when
sign your
Is that
sheet,
written out
or
anywhere?
hightail it.
Yes, it is. In the agreement.
You got it broke down to like little intervals.
We do, for the clocking in one. For the clocking out, we don't. But your clock out is from the time they sign that sheet. If you're west of Randall, you've got 17 minutes before you're supposed to be clocking out. Otherwise, we need a reason as to why it took you longer.
Well, they wouldn't be doing a free trip, so. You know, they got 10 minutes travel time and then 2 minutes to walk to the block.
We gave them 5 minutes to sweep the bus.
No.
That would be east and west, the same division, right?
Yeah. What happens if you don't submit your timesheet for the week?
We don't get paid.
Don't get paid that week. Doesn't mean you won't get paid for that week, means it's not gonna come on that paycheck. Gotta make sure you guys are submitting your timesheets. I don't know how many Brandy's still getting that aren't submitting them, but it was enough that I was given a note that says, please submit timesheets. And we've had it happen before where somebody didn't submit their payroll and it didn't get caught and they didn't notice until their next check. It's the same as if you're working anywhere else and you've got a physical timesheet. If you don't turn in that sheet that says that you wrote out, I worked these hours, your employer doesn't pay you because they don't know what you did. And if Brandy has to go, and trust me, I know from experience, if you have to go in and submit all of you guys, it adds a ridiculous amount of time to do 2 weeks of everybody submitting your timesheets, just to then go back to be able to adjust everybody's timesheets if needed. So please make sure at the end of the week, you guys are submitting.
Oh, speaking of timesheets, those attendance sheets for the spread drivers, you might wanna, everybody needs to make sure you put those dates in there and make sure they're right, because I helped do that. If those dates aren't right, uh-oh, what a mess. Cause when the kids go to school and don't go to school, that has to be recorded. The state, we get paid that way.
Yeah,
So
we don't.
those dates have to be right.
We don't make you take attendance on the sped kids just because we feel like making you do it. The state, we have to, for reimbursement. We get a percent, the district gets a percentage back based on their attendance, which is why we guys have you fill that out. But please put the dates at the top of it, because the only date that's on there is the date when Kelly printed it. But that's not always the week of what attendance you guys are doing, because sometimes they get printed out ahead of time. Like for spring break, they got printed out ahead of time so that when we came back, we had them ready to go. So please make sure you put the dates on there. Last one. What if you gotta move students around on your bus, elementary? Seating chart. You gotta let us know we're updating the seating chart. For a couple of reasons. One, if you get into an accident and you hand it over to the police and they start marking down as this is where they're supposed to be sitting and that's where they're not, you're gonna confuse the police officer. But also, if you guys are reporting that these students are in trouble for some reason, we send it over to the school and they pull the video, they use those to reference who it is because you can't always see their faces. And then they realize the kids aren't in the right spots. And the seating charts help a lot with the behavioral issues. Ever since we started those, they've been down significantly. Doesn't stop all of it, but it's been down quite a bit. So please make sure you update your seating charts.
And we just have seating charts for the elementary, right?
Correct, only elementary. Elementary wanted to keep that in check because it helped a lot. So at the initial beginning of the year, they set the seating chart. And then as needed, if you guys feel there needs to be adjustment, because they like to try and put siblings together, but siblings don't always get along. And we've had the one sibling that punches the other one just because they're siblings. And so we tell the school that we're switching them. If you guys don't like the seating chart that they give you, you guys have the right to change it. You just gotta give us the reason why, so we can let the school know. We try to work with them on the seating chart, not against them.
I think my school is with the computer. Place
That's,
everybody, I don't think they touched it.
well, Western Avenue and Mill Creek both had new principals this year and probably had a lot on their hands and just kinda left it the way it is. Some of the middle schools probably do. I think there's one middle school that they threatened the kids with, that the principal came out and said, we'll do a seating chart if you don't knock it off. Any questions on anything? Mary?
You first.
I just wonder if it would be worthwhile to go over parking at the middle school.
I was just
Oh,
gonna
yes.
ask. Go ahead.
Parking at the middle school.
Sorry, guys, some of you are doing it right.
We talked about this a little bit last month, but there still seems to be a little bit of an issue. You guys gotta stay behind the yellow line. Your mirror's gotta be behind it. A couple of buses, Jeremy's going to do fluid checks, and he lifts the bus, and the mirror about hits the bus in front of it. So then he's gotta lift it up, put the hood down, lift it up again, put it down again. You shouldn't be that close to it to begin with, because if everybody's parked appropriately, you should be able to just cut the wheel and pull out. Does that answer your question, Jackie?
No, I was gonna ask about our parking out here, if you guys have an idea how we're gonna be parking out here.
Oh, with the new parking lot?
Yeah, 'cause that's gonna, I'm trying to figure out how to do that.
So all staff parking is gonna be over here.
Pardon?
All staff parking will be over in this lot. Over there, where you guys are parking your cars now, is gonna become bus parking on an angle.
Right.
There will probably still be some buses along the curb, but it's probably, the parking will probably get shifted outward a little bit.
Let's see, because I know during the summer we can have it all full here, I'm thinking, how do we do this? Because it's gonna cost them. Everybody leaves at the same time, I think things are gonna.
We'll have to park them, the spots will probably have to be numbered, we'll have to park them based on leave time.
Why don't we split them half and half, so then people can park by the buses over there, and it would break everything up, it would make more room for parking.
Because we've only got a finite amount of space over there, and the amount of space that they're doing is enough for all of you guys, and then a few extras, and not a ton, there's not a lot of enough room over there to do it. Yeah, and we've got the grounds department that's over here.
Does that have to park there as well?
They will have to park, right now they're parking in front of their garages because we've asked them to, because there's not enough parking for them to park in the spots with you guys. And they're supposed to be, because when they park there, like the first person that pulls out, well, Leslie's in a little bus this year, but there was a big bus here one year, and we had to move it over because they were parking so close, it was hard for that driver to cut out. So we're trying to get everybody, mechanics, grounds, drivers, office staff, everybody's gonna be over in this side parking lot.
It could take some finagling, like you may not, even if you have seniority, depending on your route, we may have to back buses into the south end, which means if we have to double stack, then we have to take into consideration who leaves first. You know, and who's where, because if we put someone in the garage and that doesn't work out, it might be on the curb, like it's gonna, time is gonna, play a big role, just like at the middle school.
So you're gonna still keep all the little buses inside?
Yep.
So are you gonna add more than 2 minutes walk time?
You're gonna have to add some time, because, yeah, this is gonna be.
It's gonna be hectic.
And then I have some thoughts about the summer buses.
How about
Can we go by height or alphabet?
just so you know, in 2 minutes.
No to either.
If there's no possible
way.
way.
If we're walking from that end, all the way down there. Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions?
No, Nick wants to go.
Then you're free to go.